there is a big push now towards outsourcing these problems and reducing the cost. And that's a measure of the maturity in the market and the maturity of the people sitting around this table in many ways. Grid has come a long way from 1998 when we started looking at it. It's now become a standard, stable piece of software. And Grid in particular is very good and suitable for outsourcing. And the reason for that is the calculations are stateless. I mean, I said already they're encapsulated. The data, and particularly we can do this with Murex, the data is sent with the calculation task in a stateless way. And Grid is great because if you send a calculation to a compute node and that compute node dies, it'll just move it off to another compute node and it'll get done there. So Grid is stateless. The calculations are embarrassingly parallel, which means they have no communication between each other. So again, if you send your calculation to Timbuktu and you send another calculation to Outer Mongolia, then it doesn't matter that they're running there, or in fact they could be running anywhere else. CERN is a very good example of this. The CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, requires the processing of 40 terabytes of data a day. It does that across 40 different sites with over 40,000 computers. Now, the data is shipped. It's a bit of a struggle to ship the data. But essentially, there isn't enough compute resource in a single environment for CERN to be able to do their processing. So what they do is they have shared, using Grid technology, with a number of academic institutions and other institutions, their compute resources. They ship out calculations to be done. They get done, and they get back the result at some point later on that day. I went to CERN, actually. I had a tour around the Large Hadron Collider. It's very exciting. But when I was there, I said, what's all this for? And they said, well, we're looking for the Higgs boson. And I said, what are you going to do when you find it? And they went, we're going to have a party. I'm sure that's a good use of what it was, 27 million pounds or something, billion pounds. So Grid calculations are embarrassingly parallel. Grid is resilient, and it's commodity. And so because it's commodity, it's not a supercomputer. It doesn't require specialist hardware. It's just x86, or it could be any. It doesn't have to be x86. So it's very suitable for outsourcing. But there are always questions. What do I do? What about the turnaround time on the data? Sending data out over a leased line, how quick is it going to be? Can I use a data center in Paris if I'm in London, for example? Well, the answer is yes, but you have to think about how you do that. What we counsel people to do is think carefully about the kinds of jobs you outsource, the large batch jobs, the overnight jobs, the jobs that are going to take 10 hours. If you've got a few minutes transferring the data at the beginning of the job and getting back the results at the end, it doesn't matter in the scheme of things in terms of the length of the job. If, on the other hand, you're looking for a quick turnaround in a millisecond job so you can get back your result in your spreadsheet just after the click of the button, then outsourced Grid is not necessarily suitable. There is a 300 millisecond latency inside the M25. So if that satisfies your needs, then you could look for data centers. Many of you do. You already have data centers inside the M25 ring where you put some of your compute tasks. The market for compute